Right. Praise the Lord. Good morning. If you do not know, my name is Seth Williams. I'm currently honored to serve as the Texas District Youth President. My wife and I are in our fourth year as youth president, and it's been such an honor and a privilege to serve our district and to get to be involved in the lives of young people that are shaping our world, our future, and our church. We spent a little over 10 years in youth ministry at our local church in Deweyville under Pastor Michael Orange, where we saw youth groups. We started with a youth group of 4, and we saw that youth group grow to almost 40, and then we saw it go up and down everywhere in between with the seasons of life for some young people. Our first 4 that we started with, they were on the older end of the spectrum, so they were at that point where they were graduating out of the youth phase and into adulthood and life, and that was before we had hyphen ministry and something for young adults. So in doing that, 10 years there youth pastoring, 4 years now as youth president, my life is consumed right now with youth ministry. And I love youth ministry, love young people, and those that invest their time and their life into it. I know this is going to be really awkward, but I just want to know who everybody is, where you're from. I know familiar faces, but let's just go ahead. Kilgore, Brother Boatman. Pittsburgh, Brother Combs. Yep. What's it? Awesome.
Michelle Pierce, Lufkin, Texas, Huntington.
There we go. Okay, are y'all at the same church?
Yes.
Awesome. So you guys have like a team? Is it the 4 of you?
Well, kind of. Our youth leader just had kids. So
Okay.
he's not here. But we are working on helping with hosting an event.
Yeah. Well, there'll be some good content. I'm going to talk about being a valuable team member if you were on a team. So that's awesome. That's feeling awesome. Well, I'm glad you all are here. Again, my name is Seth Williams, and it's a privilege. I probably will not take all the time that they have allotted me, which it's already 10:56 now. I think we are supposed to go till right at noon. I am probably going to give you guys enough time to get out and get coffee and all that good stuff, and maybe go check out some of the promotional material they got. The best thing that you could do, obviously you care, right? Obviously you care enough to spend a Saturday that is could be spent doing whatever else, but you're here investing into your ministry, and that's the greatest thing that you could do, is to take advantage of these opportunities and these moments to invest into yourself to reach others. It's an incredible session with Brother Gurley and the focus on others, and the reality is when you step into this season of life, you step into this role, it's truly no longer about you, because all of your planning, whether it be if you do your youth service on a midweek or you do Friday nights, there's always a youth rally happening. There's something going on. We're fixing to hit Holiday Youth Convention. We're 1 month away from that. And then before you know it, we'll be in camp season. We'll have camp meeting, Crusader Camp, 2 weeks of youth camp. 2 weeks after youth camp is over, we got Texas Youth Conference. Hopefully you all are planning to be at that. Holiday Youth Convention is April the 2nd and the 3rd. It's the Thursday, Friday of Easter weekend. You do not want to miss that. Brother Dylan Morgan will be preaching that. Sister Brittany Scott will be leading worship along with Texas Bible College. We have partnered with our Bible college, and we utilize them for our music and singing and all of that, and it's been a great partnership with them. The last 2 weeks of June are the 2 weeks of youth camp. Junior camp is ages 12 to 16. Senior camp age 17 to 20. And then Texas Youth Conference is July 15, 16, and 17. And that's going to be incredible. That's just kind of look ahead of what Texas Youth Ministries is doing and things that are available. The best thing that your young people could do is to be around young people that are living the same life they're living. It's a lot easier to live for God when you know there's other people living for God, especially at that age. Let's jump in. Students are in a constant change life. School, home, extracurriculars, hormones, emotions, spirituality, on and on the list could go. Life is a constant place of change. And if you have been placed in the greatest and the worst spot of all, in the middle of it. You are in the middle of their ever-changing life. Now, surely being in this room today means that you are somewhat grounded in knowing exactly where you are, where you're headed, what's going on. We're not exempt from change, but their life is evolving every single day. They are in constant state of change. The one constant change in their world right now has got to be you. In a place where everything is changing around them, from within themselves personally to everything that's going on physically, spiritually, emotionally. Now, hopefully these teenagers don't have financial stress on them yet. They will. And we all know that as we've stepped into the realm of adulthood. My wife and I have been married 15 years. We've got 3 kids. We worry about a lot of those things that hopefully your students are not having to worry about yet. But the one constant of their world has got to be you. As a youth worker, you carry not only the weight of your personal life, career, family obligations, but also the responsibility to keep young people passionate and connected to living for God. It is imperative that you become a steadfast presence in their life. There should be one thing that they know is you're there. Everything else around them is changing. It can't happen with the leadership in their life. And so be that consistent place of confidence. Be that consistent word of affirmation. Be that consistent voice of encouragement, but also has to unfortunately become a voice of correction at times. Be that consistent voice that is heard saying, I believe in you, even when you want to be the hands that are strangling them. Young people are going to frustrate you. Young people are going to wear you out. Young people are going to push their limits. It's imperative that you are a constant place in their life, a constant voice that is heard in a supporting manner, but also in those times where you have to correct them. I don't know how much that would involve you as much as it would, hey, we need to step and have a conversation with Pastor. Before any young person, even to this day, whether they be a licensed minister, it be a young person I used to youth pastor, or if it's just somebody that wants to come and confide in me, I will tell them this at the very get-go. You must know before we get started, there will be a point in time, if you reach a place in conversation, I will let your pastor know. If the case may be, I'm going to have to let authorities know, whatever the deal is. Being in that place of confidence doesn't mean you're that place of holding secrets, right? Because we all operate under the umbrella of covering, and God will never bless outside the umbrella of covering of your pastor. So first and foremost, if there's anything that I say today that your pastor does not agree with, he's right and I am wrong, okay? Always, always, always abide by the covering of your man of God. And if your man of God gets it wrong, God will not penalize you. I'm a firm believer in being under the covering of your pastor. So be that place of confidence, and even in times of correction, handle that correction with love. Handle that correction in a place, because here's the deal. It's not always going to behoove you or benefit you to call them out in front of the group, right? To embarrass them is going to push them further away. Now, I understand there are times that in those instances you've got to get control of the atmosphere, control of the situation, but do so in a place of constant support. Do so in a place that says, hey, look, you're being a knucklehead right now, but I still know there's potential in you. So we've got to get this under control so that we can get you to where God wants you to be. The things that you will do for them will never matter as much as the times you were there for them. They are going to know how much you care. It'll be evident by the consistency that you play in their life. It is essential to recognize that youth ministry represents a season of life that will forever shape the trajectory of young people you minister to. Your influence, whether it is positive or negative, will leave an undeniable mark on their lives. How you navigate this season of your ministry and their lives, it will significantly influence the direction that they take, and the impact that you will have becomes evident over time. You may not see the immediate results of your impact today. However, you impact everybody you come in contact with, one way or another. And in this season of their life, You probably, if you're like most churches, you have contact with them weekly, whether you're having services weekly or friends nights or hangouts or whatever you do. Every time you are with them, you are impacting them one way or another, whether that be positive, whether that be negative, whether it just be a neutral moment. However, you have got to find the way that you are impacting them in a manner that shapes them not only to be successful in life, but successful in living for God. And the best way that you can impact them positively is, one, to be intentional. God is a God of divine order, a God of divine structure. I will not get preachy here today, but I will tell you, God has never done anything accidentally. God does not make mistakes. Even in creation, God did not make a mistake in the young people that He created. Young people feel often undervalued, underappreciated. We're living in the age of the attack of suicidal thoughts and depressions and anxieties. And young people have to know that God does not make mistakes, and that includes them. And the way that you impact them positively is with intention. God didn't operate by accident, so we can't operate by accident. Your youth group's not going to grow accidentally. You're not going to have revival in your youth group by showing up just hoping we're going to have a move of God. But with every event you plan, with every service you have, every rally you take them to, every fundraiser that you put together, because it takes money to have youth ministry. And so it's going to take fundraising, it's going to take blood, sweat, and tears, all the above. You know, sometimes there'll be times where you're like, you know what? I'm going to talk to Pastor Sunday. We are done. We're out of here. And then you go to bed and you wake up Saturday and you realize everything's okay and you're going to be fine. You're going to survive it. It's just young people in youth ministry. And Sunday you find that passion all over again. And but be intentional. Be accessible. Young people got to know that it's not just a place of ministry for you, but you are accessible to them. Now, obviously, if a young person comes to you with something illegal, immoral, something's going to get them hurt or killed, I mean, there are steps that you know you've got to take and handle those avenues. Be part of being accessible is being available. Don't just be a babysitter. Don't just be there at the event and part of the deal just because well, I didn't have nothing else to do, so they asked me to serve in youth ministry. You might have been standing in the wrong place at the wrong time. You might be the only one age eligible or in arm's reach to be asked to be able to do this. However it came about, God knew it was going to come about. And God has structured these moments of their life to be shaped by your hands. Helpful tips to be successful in this season. This season has got to be more than just a stepping stone in your ministry. Youth ministry should not be viewed as merely a stepping stone on your ministerial journey. While it may not have been a part of your initial vision, it may not have been what you thought you'd be doing at this moment, it's where you are. And if you view it as merely a transitional phase, your students become objects to be used rather than souls to be invested in. And the moment they become an object that is just launching you to your next path is the moment you start killing young people. It's the moment that we abandon what God has entrusted into our hands and what God has entrusted us to shape and to form over the next 4 to 8 years, however long you'll have them. Some youth groups run from 12 to 25, some from 12 till whenever you graduate. However you guys operate in structure, you've got to view them as a soul, and the job of equipping them for ministry rests upon you as a youth worker. Secondly, in this season, not being just a stepping stone for you, your identity cannot be found in your position. Because here's the reality. At some point, you're going to be too old to be in youth ministry. At some point, you will transition into that next phase of ministry. At some point, you'll move on and somebody else will do what you're doing, and you'll look and be like, we didn't do it that way. Back in my day, you'll be the one talking about how you remember the good old days of youth ministry and what you used to do and all the success you had. There will be a day that comes, and your identity cannot be tied into being youth pastor or on a youth team or a youth committee. I mean, the reality is there's even age limits to what I'm doing currently. And there will become a time where I'll be too old to serve in youth ministry, and I guess they'll kick me down the road and, I don't know, let me serve in children's ministry or something. I have no idea what the next step is, but I cannot be so focused on the next step that I miss the moments God's asked me to invest in this moment. So don't be so tied up in your position, because God's going to send somebody else to do it. But do the best that you can while you're in that position. And it's, again, like Brother Gurley said earlier, it's about others. It's got to be about the young person. It's got to be about the youth group. It's got to be about how can we reach a soul now. If you can win a young person now, they're a lot easier to win in their teenage years than they are in their adult years. And so be involved. Secondly, is my next point. Second is be involved and not just present. Being involved doesn't necessarily mean knowing the proper use for the ever-changing slang and vocabulary of your students. They make up a new word every day. They're saying things, and I'm live. I've got 2 teenagers that are in the youth group, and they're using words, and I'm like, what did you just say? And, being involved doesn't mean you're going to be current in all the new lingo and the things that they are doing. You're going to be called cringe a bunch. It's just going to happen. It's part of it, But here's the deal. Being involved is more important than just showing up. Being present does not equate to being involved. Understand their interests. Understand the activities of your students. Stay connected to what they are experiencing. But most importantly, your role is to not be cool and not be popular. Your role is to, how can I navigate today's world and keep them connected to the church? Young people want something to do. Young people are going to have something to do, and the world has plenty ready for them to do. We have got to equip ourselves in a manner that keeps young men and young women connected to the church. All humanity wants 3 things. I don't care who they are. All of humanity wants 3 things: to be seen, to be heard, and to be loved. And if you can establish those 3 things on a weekly basis, if you can establish, know what they're interested in. That way, when they show up, you've got a way to keep them connected. Hey, whether some churches, their students play organized sports with the local school that they're in. Hey, how's game week going? Hey, how's just a real small, minor detail of knowing what they're involved in translates to them that you know them. You see them. You want to hear from them. You care about them. This concept of being heard, being seen, and being loved can be found all the way back in the garden with Adam and Eve, when sin comes upon the world and the Lord comes looking for them. He says, Adam, where are you? He said, I want to see you. Where are you at, Adam? Let me see you. And then you know the story. Adam says, we hid ourselves. We were naked. He said, who told you? Talk to me, Adam. How did we end up here? See, even in their mistakes, and young people are going to make mistakes, it's going to drive you up the wall, because they will do things that you have taught on and you have taught on and you have taught on, and they know better than to do. But how you respond to those mistakes will forever either connect them or separate them. And the Lord said, I see you, I hear you, and now let me show you how much I love you. Yes, it came with consequence. Yes, they were driven out of the garden. However, it was so wrapped in love that God provided for them. When your young people make a mistake, don't always be the voice of criticism. Don't always be the condemnation that says, I can't believe you did that. I tell the story as we full-time evangelize. I tell the story plenty places. I've told it at holiday youth conventions and different things like that. My pastor and his wife, I can remember as a teenager, I'm the reason why my pastor's hair started turning gray, and even some of it has started turning loose. I was in church, out of church, in church, out of church, trying to find the best way that I could live in both worlds. I wanted to live for God, but I had other things that I was wanting to fill my life with also. But I remember every time I came back to youth service, every time I came back to church, it was never, where have you been? What have you been doing? It was always, we're so glad you're here. We miss you. we love you. I always felt seen, I always felt heard, and I always knew I was loved. Now, that didn't stop him from at times telling me when I was wrong and when I was a knucklehead. But there's a right way, a right time, and a right place to do those things. And as you grow and navigate in your youth ministry, you'll understand that you can't handle every kid the same, right? What works for one kid's not going to work for the next one. And so being involved, being connected to them, understanding them will open those doors and help you how to navigate with those students. It'll open those conversations naturally, because if you care about the small things, they're going to come to you with the big things. If they know you're involved and not just present, they're going to know, I've got somebody. To this day, I mean, my pastor is my go-to. He was my youth pastor. I call him when I've got things going on in my life. I call him when I got things going on in my ministry. I call him when I have decisions to make and just seek his counsel and his guidance. But it all started as my youth pastor. It all started as that place where he was involved and not just present. So again, being present doesn't equate to being involved. Understand their interests, their activities, stay connected to what they experience, but most importantly, keep them connected to the church. Keeping them connected, I'll add this little plug, is not always the these and the thous and the spiritual things, right? Jesus operated in parallels and parables, and he always equated it to a natural that they understood. So utilize what their interests are, utilize what they're connected to keep them grounded and connected to the church. Thirdly, discipline your attitude. Choose to respond with grace and mercy and not always condemnation and correction. We talked about this just briefly a moment ago, but how you handle a situation could certainly shape the future of a student. It could certainly be what either keeps them connected or drives them away. And that's all becomes a part of discipline your attitude, because if you haven't had it yet, there will be a moment in the public setting where they just, for lack of a better term, just flat tick you off. And the blood pressure goes through the roof and you start sweating immediately and you just want to hug them around and you just want to squeeze real tight and you want to pull the van over and say, get off, get out right now. I don't care how you get home, but we can't do that, right? So the best way that you can respond is first to govern and discipline your attitude, because your response will shape their response. What you do will play into what they do next. So choose grace and mercy, not always condemnation and correction. Obviously, that goes without saying that if they are a complete disruption, if they are, obliterating what you've got on and you need to take them out of service, just, hey, step out here with me and let's just get this settled and do what you got to do discreetly and however your pastor has entrusted you to do that. Your attitude could do one of two things. It could draw them in or it could push them out. And in trying to grow young people, you want to find a way to draw them in. There's already enough trying to draw them out. There's already enough pulling on them. There's already enough that they are going through. You don't want to be an extra set of hands that's on their back pushing them away. Instead, you want to be that anchor. You want to be that place. And so disciplining your attitude could be a part of what keeps them there. If they always know you to respond with rage and anger and criticism, then they're probably going to eventually just quit confiding in you. They're going to quit hearing you when you preach. They're going to quit. Youth ministry goes beyond these little pulpits and platform moments. It goes beyond the teaching of the Word of God. It goes about being involved and invested into their life. Number 4, be a consistent place. We talked about that a little bit earlier when I got the cart in front of the horse there, but be a consistent place. Live with integrity, knowing that your actions are always being observed. If there's ever a reason to live faithfully, it's because the next generation is watching. Be the first one at the altar with them and the last one to leave. It's always easier to follow what you see rather than just follow what you hear. Let them see you worship. Let them see you break down. Let them see you cry. Let them see you in those altar moments. Don't just preach it, be it. Don't just preach it, be it. Let them see you. Let them see you lead, not just from a pulpit, not just from a microphone if you sing, or an instrument if you play, not just in those moments where everybody can see you, but when you got 3 or 4 guys helping you after church load chairs, and they're hoping the girls are watching, and they're seeing how many chairs they can carry at one time. And let them see you lead. Let them see you serve. Let them see you on your bad days. Let them see you run to an altar. We have got to reestablish the fact that it's okay for young people to be in the house of God and not be okay. We've got to reestablish that it's okay for young people to struggle as long as they have a place where they can go to when they're struggling. And the best way they're going to get that is not hearing you say it, but seeing you do it. Because young people, the vast majority of them are followers until they step into that role of being a leader, until they feel that shift in their life. But here's the deal. God has placed leaders in their life already. So they've got the right plan, they've got the right person, they've got the right place that they can follow them. So be that consistent place that they see it along with they hear it. And don't let what they see be different from what they hear. We cannot successfully grow and run a youth ministry off of do what I say, not as I do. It just doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way in youth groups. It don't work that way for pastors who are pastoring churches. It don't work that way for parents who are raising children. You know as well as I do that it's a lot easier to replicate what you see more so than it is what you hear. Lastly, on this line, I want to tell you this. It's not your fault if they backslide. It's not your fault when they get it wrong and they walk out the door. They're mad. They're never coming back. They're hurt. They're wounded. Whatever the case may be. If you have done everything within your power to lead them, to love them, to connect them, and to keep them, when they backslide, do not put the weight of their backsliding on your shoulders. In seeing that youth group that I talked to you about earlier go from 4 to almost 40 and everywhere in between, some of that transitional phases was not always young people getting too old to be in the youth group, or families moving away and jobs and different things like that. There's a good majority of it was young people backsliding. And I'd find myself hand in hand with my wife sitting on our bedroom floor crying, wondering what more could we have done? Could we have loved them any harder? Could we have reached any further? What can we do? We had to understand that it wasn't our fault. We didn't make their decisions, but we kept a door open. We kept a place that they could come back to. We kept a place that they understood and knew that they had somebody that cared about them, somebody that was concerned with their future. There's still a young lady to this day, if ever we're home, she wants to see us. And she's not in church at this moment. By faith, I'm believing that she will be. She'll come around and get her mind back right, and she'll come back home and begin to live for God again. But this young lady was at every event we went on. This young lady was every youth night we had. She was there always, and just life happened, and we carried the weight of that for quite some time. But there's also a young man there in our church at home that one of the last times I went home to preach, and we were there, and him and his wife, and they're raising children, they're serving in ministry. When I left home to evangelize, he was as backslidden as they come. And I come home some years later, and there he is serving in ministry. His wife's on the platform singing. They're raising kids. And I watched as people would come and shake my hand and talk to me and different things like that. I watched as this young man just stayed off to the side, and tears still running down his face. And he walked up to me. He said, "Brother Seth, thank you." I said, I thought he was talking about for the service. I was like, "Man, to God be the glory, you know." He's like, "No, thank you." He said, "When I was a teenager, you were always there." He said, "I remember all those times that I'd backslide and come back to church." He said, "You were the first one with me in the altar when I prayed, and every time I got up, you were still standing there with me every single time." He said, "I'm living for God today because of you." Now we know that that's because of God. God had placed us in the place at the time, gave us the opportunity and the ability to invest into their life and different things like that. but he's standing as a grown man with a wife and children serving in ministry and says, I'm here today because of what happened to me as a teenager. I'm here today as an adult because of those formative years of my life. You are in the most vital place of ministry, and it has got to be about understanding that their decisions, as long as they were not influenced and forced by you, their decisions are not yours. And the weight of them walking away is not yours to carry. Yes, you'll weep over them. Yes, you'll cry, and you should. If you're involved and invested in their life, it should hurt you to watch them walk away. But for you to shoulder that blame is unfair to you, and it's unfair to the rest of your youth ministry team and the rest of your youth group. The only thing that you can do is to keep a door open. It's important to acknowledge that your leadership has lasting implications. We find worth because of what Christ has done. Everybody has worth because of what Christ has done. However, we find value in our leadership through what we do with the responsibility God has entrusted us with. Everybody has worth because of Christ, but worth and value are not the same. Value is found in what you do with the responsibility that has been entrusted to you. So with that, we're going to talk briefly about, we got about 30 more minutes. We're going to talk briefly about making yourself a valuable team member. We are a part and will continue to be a part of teams in ministry. Ministry does not happen without teams. So how do we as team members make ourselves valuable to the team? We understand and know that the whole team has equal worth. But worth and value, again, are not the same. Value is usefulness. Simply existing or being elected or appointed or asked to serve does not mean that we are valuable. So how do I make myself valuable on a team? One, build His kingdom and not yours. It's got to be about His kingdom and not about yours. The true success of a youth ministry is not the platforms you stand on. It's truly not even the size of the group. It's those moments that you invest into the souls, whether that group is a group of 4, that group's a group of 400, or you're somewhere in between. Build His kingdom and not yours. Number 2, the way to make yourself a valuable member of a team is to think solutions and don't just expose problems. Anybody can point out problems. Anybody can point out issues. But the reality is, don't always be that person saying, this needs to be better, or we need to do that. Come up with a solution. Think about it. Pray over it. Visit with your, if you've got a team, whoever the lead of that team is, visit with youth pastor. If it's you, visit with your pastor. Go to him and say, look, I see these problems, but here's a solution I think we can have. And think about those things. If you're on the team, don't always be the one pointing out what you don't like or what you think could be better or what you think needs fixing without presenting a reasonable and an obtainable solution. What works for the youth group down the road may not work for the youth group at your church. Every culture is different. Every demographic is different. Every location is different. I mean, in this city alone, there's several different UPCI churches here within Lufkin, and each one of them are different. They have their own culture. And so you can't just look and say, well, that worked for this youth group, so we're going to put it over here and make it work for ours. Some of those things, it will work. Some things you see, whether you're in a rural area. Deweyville, we didn't even have a population sign. I mean, I graduated one of the largest classes to come through Deweyville, and we had graduated with 72 people. And so what works in the metro area for, Brother Gurley and those guys, are in these big cities like Dallas and things, that may not work for me. However, I can look at these and I can say, you know what, we might could try that here. Here's the deal. Doing what we've always done is going to get us what we've always got. You've got something that works now. Don't be afraid to try something new on the guys that it may not work. Well, if it don't, you already got something that's working, so you just back up and you find something else that you're willing to try. So find solutions. Don't always expose problems. Number 3, we make ourselves a valuable team member when we don't stop thinking. Don't put it on cruise control and say, well, we've got it figured out, we've got it made, we've got it good. We are dealing with life that is changing. For young people, for us, our world is different today than it was 10 years ago. Our world is a different place. And so you cripple yourself and your youth ministry when you're like, this is as good as it's going to get, and you just stop thinking. Don't put your brain on cruise control. We must resist the urge to park our brains and stop thinking. Just because we've been around the church or we've been around the movement or the organization for a long time doesn't mean that everything's as good as it's ever going to get. Okay? So think, brainstorm, discuss, talk about things. It's, and continually think on how could we better invest? How could we better grow? How could we better fundraise? How could we, there's always more to be done. When we think about things, we open our brain for God to help us with our thinking. Which sincerely pray, let the mind of Christ be in me. God, let your thoughts become, or my thoughts become your thoughts. God, help us to think on a way and think and open doors that we could better grow a youth ministry within our local church. The best way, since we're talking about thinking, the best way to ensure less money this year in your fundraising is to repeat what you did last year. Just keep doing the same thing over and over and over, and eventually it's going to die down. And every one of you in youth ministry, so that means every one of you are going to be a part of fundraising. I don't know any church that just automatically and fully funds everything their youth group wants to do without, a car wash or a bake sale. Or one of our best fundraisers was a gumbo cook-off. And two, it was it didn't cost us hardly anything, right? So we'd put sign-up sheets for people that wanted to make gumbo. They'd sign up, tell us what kind of gumbo they were making. And then obviously we'd have to put that out in front of it. People with seafood allergies and different things like that. You don't want to kill somebody trying to raise money for the youth group. It usually doesn't work very well. But we would we'd have them make the gumbo. We'd have the young people donate the rice and desserts. And then after church, we charged $10 a person, $5 a kid. And the church would come over right after service, and boom, you got lunch built in, you're raising money. And that fundraiser, we saw that, I think that fundraiser would bring us in close to about $3,000 in a very small church. But here's the deal, people love to eat. They like to fellowship. And so if they can do that right there. So find ways to be creative with your fundraising. If you find one that you lock into that works, obviously keep that because your church likes it. But find other ways to grow that fundraising, because it's going to cost money to go to camps. It's going to cost money to go to HYCs. It's going to cost money if you're fortunate enough to get to take a group to NAYC and things like that. Okay. Number 4, making ourselves a valuable team member. When we plan, update, and complete. We become valuable when we learn how to plan, update, and complete. Proactive updating and communicating. So don't just get a vision, right? I've got a vision. I want to take our youth group and I want to grow our youth group from 4. I want to be running, 8 by the end of the year. We want to double our youth group. Okay, so how do we do that? 1, we see the vision. 2, we've got a plan. We update. We circle back around. Okay, it's been 6 months. We're halfway to the end of the year. Where are we at? How many people have we prayed through? How many people are showing up to youth service? How can we get more people? So you plan, you update, and then you complete. Here's the deal. God honors effort. God honors the work that is being put in by intentionality, because after all, Luke 19:10, the Bible says, "For the Son of Man has come to seek and to save that which is lost." When you start seeking, how can I grow? How can I double? How can I do that? And then you start planning and you start investing and you start praying. It's a perfect recipe for God to show up. So when you're proactive about planning, updating, and completing, God's going to step on the scene and help you. But God, again, is not just going to give you an accidental revival. So it's why planning and updating and communicating and communicating and communicating. Communication is key. Communication is vital. It's important. I don't know what you're thinking unless you tell me what you're thinking. You know, I can barely read a book. I certainly can't read your mind. So those of you especially that are a part of a team, one, know your role and your lane in that team. But two, also communicate. Say, hey, I need some help understanding here. The worst thing that we could do is assume, right? It's why if I have an issue going on with somebody, or I want to discuss something with one of our department leaders or one of our sectional directors, I'm not going to do that through text message. You read a text message with the emotions that you're feeling. Has anybody in the room ever read a text and you read it wrong? And so communication, right? If it's important enough to make decisions over, it's important enough to be invested in, it's important enough to have a conversation about. And in that conversation, certainly if you can do it face to face, I feel like works better, because you can see facial expressions, you can see body language, you can hear tone and inflection in voice. So don't just assume that everybody understands it the way you think it. Communicate. And don't be afraid for your plan not to be liked. Sometimes ideas are great. Sometimes they sounded a lot better in your head until you vocalized them outside. And it's like, you know what, let's scrap that. But we become valuable team members when we plan, we update, and we complete. And all of that is done through communication. Leads me to my next one. Number 5, we become a valuable team member when we communicate effectively. Open up, talk, discuss. Hey, this is where we're at. This is what's going on. This is what I feel. Don't be afraid to open up and talk and say, hey, this is what I'm feeling about this. The worst thing for any youth ministry is for there to be a lack of communication amongst the youth team, the youth pastor, and what's going on. You can even effectively communicate to your young people. If I need them to do something, the best way to get them to do something is 1, to tell them, explain it, and then 3, show them, right? So you become valuable when you learn to effectively communicate. We talked about this one a while ago. When you discipline your attitude, you choose your attitude. Only you choose your response. And you've got to understand that not every hill is worth dying on. Not every decision is worth a fight. Not every decision is worth getting up in arms about. Not every hill is worth dying on. Lastly, I want to tell you this statement here. I forget who I heard make this statement. I want to say it was Brother Tim Gaddy out of Arkansas made this statement. It stuck with me. Never get so big that you forget how to value people. Young people are valuable, even when they're knuckleheads, even when they got you ready just to walk away from it all. Never get so big that you forget how to value people. Don't be so caught up in group size that you forget about the souls that are in the group you have. We live in a day and an age, especially in the church culture, you hear people, oh, how many people does your church run? How big's your group? How many students you got? How many this? How many that? That is irrelevant. The size of the group does not matter near as much as the souls of the group. Whether that be one, you might be the youth pastor and you're youth pastoring the pastor's kid. That's the only kid you got in the youth group. Well, guess what? He's got a soul. She's got a soul. Every person that walks through the door, whether they're a first-time visitor or they were born and raised in that church, they're your family, whatever it may be, don't be so caught up in the group size that you forget about the souls that are in the group. Because the reality is, if you'll take care of the ones God's already given you, God knows He can send you more. And lastly, I'll say this. Implore your students to evangelism. The best revivals are in our public schools. They're on our college campuses. Your students are the key to revival right now. Not just for your youth group. You know what? Find a place to involve them. Find a place to let them do something. Find a place to give them ownership, because when they feel that little bit of ownership, now they're invested in it. And if you feel like you have ownership and investment into something, you're going to work a lot harder to see the success of it. So invest into those students. Give them those moments where they understand, oh, it may just be taking up the offering. It may just be, opening up youth service. It may be something so minute or small or something, but getting them involved gets them invested. And when you get them invested, they'll do anything for you. They'll work, they'll evangelize, they'll invite, they'll knock doors. What'll happen is you'll see they don't care what they're doing as long as they can do it with you. It doesn't matter if it's a work day, it doesn't matter if we're outreach, it doesn't matter. They want to hang out with you and they want to be around their friends. And it gives them something to do. So utilize the tools that God's already put in your group in order to grow your group. So making yourself a valuable team member, to be all summed up, sum all this up into just a brief statement, is one, it's His kingdom, not ours. Think solutions, not just problems. Don't stop thinking. Plan, update, and complete. Communicate effectively, and discipline your attitude. With those things, making yourself a valuable part of a team member, making yourself a valuable part of a team, member of a team. There we go. We'll get it out in just a second. You equip yourself to see success in youth ministry. I know today you came expecting some great spiritual revelation, and that we were going to hear angels sing, and we were going to see the heavens open, and the Shekinah was going to fill the room. But the reality is this: if you'll take care of the basic things, if you'll take care of the natural things, God will do the spiritual things. If you discipline yourself, if you're consistent, if you're that steadfast place for your young people, if they know you care, right? And people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And it only takes just a little conversation. It takes just a little bit of time. You do what you can in the natural, God will do what He does in the spiritual. And by equipping yourself throughout this weekend, weekends to come, I would encourage you to be involved at every district youth event that we're putting on. Because within those, God's going to grow your group. God's going to pour into you. God's going to show them that, look, there are thousands of other young people that are doing what you're doing. So the best thing that you could do is to get your group involved in everything that you possibly can. I know sometimes finances and schedule and calendar and everything like that takes place. But if you will take care of what you can, God will always do what you can't.